I'm Lisa Mullins in Boston. Massachusetts is the birthplace of the American Revolution, but it didn't all start with a shot heard round the world and the battles of Lexington and Concord. Founding Father John Adams said revolution was stirring in people's minds more than a decade before a drop of blood was shed at Lexington. It was driven by a change in the way colonists thought about the role of government and the British government's control over their lives. Robert Allison is a history professor at Suffolk University, and we brought him in for an American Revolution 101 of sorts. It starts with a reminder of what we learned back in 5th grade about taxes the British imposed from an ocean away.
Taxation without representation was the critical thing that sets all of this in motion. The idea that this elite in London would decide what was best for people in Revere, Chelsea, these other places. And it's not just we don't like these taxes, but we don't like the fact that we're being taxed without our consent. The critical thing happens in 1774 when the British government suspends the Massachusetts government and closes the port of Boston. And this leads to some towns which hadn't been part of this movement, like Concord, to say, well, wait a minute, we can't have a town meeting. We can't choose our own representatives.
When did the British government send British troops here?
In June of 1774, we have the second British occupation. There had been an occupation in the late 1760s, which culminated in the Boston Massacre.
Remind us what happened then.
5 Bostonians were shot in the street by British soldiers. The British, though, withdraw the troops, and in fact, all of the officers and soldiers are put on trial and are acquitted, except for 2 who were branded on their thumbs and sent to New Jersey. And then in 1774, after the destruction of the tea, the Boston Tea Party, Parliament suspends the Massachusetts government and also sends troops to enforce the law. So essentially, and also a new governor, General Thomas Gage. So by this time, you essentially have 2 different governments emerging. One is General Gage with a commission from the king, and the other is the Provincial Congress. It had been the Massachusetts Assembly. They declare the office of governor vacant, and they take up residence in Watertown. By this time, the towns are also mustering militia, creating military companies, and Gage is coming to realize that his hold on power is really limited to where he has troops.
So the troops themselves, it's hard to imagine what it was like to be an American, quote unquote, living here and living across the street from maybe some British troops. They were living life, daily life, before this all came to a head.
They really were, and in some cases they get along, in other cases they don't. But what happens when the British occupy Boston in 1774 and 1775 is a lot of the Bostonians who are hostile to the British rule leave town, and also a lot of people from surrounding towns who are fine with the empire move into Boston to be under this protection. Suddenly people are turning on neighbors who they thought were supportive of the crown policies, and so they find they have to leave town because now angry mobs are surrounding their houses.
So as you said, towns formed militias, and the militias stockpiled weapons, and we all know about the Midnight Ride when Paul Revere warned colonists that more British troops were closing in, and then the battles of Lexington and Concord after that. Let's talk about a battle that happened just over a month later that gets a lot less attention. That's the Battle of Chelsea Creek. What happened there?
So the Battle of Chelsea Creek happens between Noddle's Island, what is today East Boston, and the town of Chelsea. And Chelsea at that time also included Revere. And Noddle's Island was used to graze livestock. And the Provincial Congress says we need to get livestock away from the British. So groups of the militia, actually the militia troops from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, the first time men from 3 different states fight together under one command. They go and rouse livestock from Chelsea Creek. The British try to intercept them with a vessel that winds up running aground, and the Americans fire on it, so they capture this sloop, the Diana, burn it, take everything off first. So first naval capture, first time the Americans use artillery, and also the first time men from different states fight together under one command.
Massachusetts was so pivotal in the lead up to the Revolution and the fight for independence. The Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia. Why not here?
Well, what we like to say is that the Revolution happened in Massachusetts. Then they went to Philadelphia to fill out the paperwork. It turns out to be very important paperwork. And in fact, the leader, the colossus of independence, was John Adams. And of course, the president of the Congress was John Hancock. And the Declaration arrives in Massachusetts on July 16th at the Provincial Congress in Watertown. They have it sent to a printer in Salem, who has it then sent to every town to be read at the town meetings. And the town clerks write it into the town minute book. So you can go to any town hall pretty much and see this.
You can see this today?
You can see this today in a lot of the towns. Ask to see the minute book. This is a recognition that we are here as part of an independent nation. This is a new beginning for us.
What strikes you as being particularly relevant now, 250 years later?
The revolution really succeeds because it brings in so many different people into it with this promise of individual liberty, the ability to govern yourself. And it's really an argument about political power, who should wield it. And what we've learned from looking at revolutions generally is that the easy part actually is getting rid of the bad old government, although it seems impossible at the time. The much more difficult thing is creating something that won't be worse. And the real achievement here is creating something that will lead to a society in which all men really are created equal, have these certain rights, which we say are given to them by their creator. It's not just we don't like the British tax policies or we don't like the fact that the Port of Boston is closed, but because these are denials of this universal truth.
Bob Allison, history professor at Suffolk University, who also helps lead the Boston-based nonprofit Revolution 250. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.